Okay, next we're going to be talking about working with layers in Photoshop, and that's one of the most fundamental things and tools that you will use in working with Photoshop, and that's one of the most powerful features of Photoshop is working with layers. Now, if you look over here on the right, you will see what is called the Layers palette, and if you go under the Window drop-down menu, you'll find Layers. That's how you will bring that up. But with the layers, you can have a great degree of control of the thing that you are creating, the image that you're working on. And so I started here, as you can see, if you focus in on the layers palette, we have what we talked about before is the background, which is the default thing that comes up in a document as a background. And then from there, you will create layers in which you can work on. And you can work on each layer independently, and that's the important thing to remember. You work on them independently. And so as you can see here, I have layer one, or I have an image here that we're starting with. And if you want to add another layer to this document, what you do is go down to the bottom part of that palette, and you'll see this image right here. It's like a little page. Click on that, and that brings up another layer. And so when you're working on a layer, you want to be sure that you have that layer selected. If you're trying to do some type of effect or do some type or whatever, you have to make sure that that layer is selected. And in fact, as you go along, you may want to name your layers. But actually, when you do type, if you create type on a layer like I'm going to do here, I'm going to type a word dreams. And so as you can see here, over in the layers palette, we now have the word dreams that has shown up. And as you can see here, as I work, I have this layer selected. I can move that type around anywhere I want, independently again of the image that is below it, or the layer that is below it. And so, you can obviously create any type cell that you want that you have loaded on your computer. Not quite that big, maybe a little smaller. Something like that, and anyway, so you can put type on that. If you wanted to have another layer, obviously, again, you go down to the layers palette, click on this little page icon again, and that will create yet another layer. And again, when you type, it will give you the first word or two of the text that you have typed on your Photoshop document. So anyway, and you can move these layers around. If you need to move that layer with the photo of the woman to above that, but you can see then that the word dreams that I typed disappeared. So again, I can just move that around, and there it's back again. So the thing about layers, you can move those around as you need to, but you got to remember where your layers are. We'll go a little bit more into that so you can keep better track of that. Now, one thing about the layers palette, again, it has a lot of functionality to it. For example, one of the things that I use a lot, and I think that you'll be finding yourself to use quite a bit, is what we call the effects palette. And I'm going to click on, it says, when I go down here, it says the FX, now down at the bottom of the layers palette, it says add a layer style. So I'm going to click on that, and as you can see, it gives me a lot of different options. I can add a drop shadow to that type. I can do what they call an inner shadow or an outer glow. I can add an inner glow. I can give a bevel and emboss. Let me just go ahead and do that. As you can see here, I select the bevel and emboss feature. And once you apply an effect, this layer style box will appear. And actually, this is where you can really add more specific to the effect that you're looking for. I know, for example, here it's got on the style palette for the bevel and emboss, you can affect the depth of the shadow or the emboss that you're working with. You can do the direction of that emboss being up or down. You can affect the size of the emboss. It kind of goes away if you get too big. And you can do a soften effect on that as well. You can also affect the angle or the direction of that emboss. And so you can do that. You can also, while you have this layers palette open, you can add other effects while you're at it if you want. You can add what we call a gradient overlay. And what you want to do, you want to make sure you click on that particular effect, and that will bring up another, will bring up the specifics of working on that particular thing. And again, you have a lot of latitude in what you want to create. You can go in here and do different overlay effects. So anyway, you have a lot of creative control at your disposal. Well, when you work with the layers palette. Down here, you can also create a mask. If you want to do a mask feature where you're actually masking out part of the photo and adding another effect, you can do that. And then if you want to eliminate a layer down here, you'll simply have that layer selected. Like I'm going to select that layer right there and click the trash icon, and they'll ask you if you want to delete that layer, and I'm going to say yes. You can do that. If you want to duplicate a layer, say you've got a layer that you want to add a similar effect to something else, or you want to duplicate that layer, what you do is you click on that layer, have it selected, and you're going to move it down to that page icon, and it's going to create a copy of that layer. So if you want to do some other type on that particular layer, what I would do in this case, I would unclick that layer below because it is actually directly below it. And you can just, again, type over that. I can do another word here and have that very same effect if I need to keep that. So again, the layers palette has a lot of functionality to it, and that's one of the features you're going to find yourself using the most when you use Photoshop.